Hi guys, my name is I'm a firefighter with Southern Yankee Fire Rescue, and today I'm presenting a class on Maydays and RIT operations. So last year there was a total of 293 Maydays experienced by 264 different departments. 10% of departments actually had multiple Maydays. Our profiles were 243 of those departments were paid departments, well 21 of them were volunteers. And the years of service, 71 of these Maydays were called by firefighters with 6 to 10 years on the job, and this has kind of been attributed to complacency after being there for so long. They've been there quite long enough to be, veterans, but they've been there long enough to not be rookies anymore. They kind of get a little complacent. So 214 of those Maydays, which 72% of them occurred during evening hours, more specifically the early morning hours. The 76% of these Maydays were called between 0100 to 0300 hours. Location and nature of the Maydays, most of them were people who fell through the floor into the basement. So obviously these are a lot of departments up north that do have basements. Falling through the roof, air problems, trapped or entangled, lost or separated from their line, failure to communicate, or having a medical problem while inside the structure fighting the fire. Okay, occupancy types for the Maydays occurred. 161 of these occurred in residential structures, 79 in apartments, and 43 in commercial structures. Being lost from your line and separated more seemed to happen a lot more in commercial structures and residential structures. Cruise rescuing, actually 21% of all Maydays that were rescued were self-rescues. And actually the least amount was actually the RIT and RIT teams. 76 Maydays took between 20 to 25 minutes on average, and almost 12 firefighters total to actually get the victim out. So when should you call a Mayday? According to studies by NIOSH and FEMA, Mayday should be called if you fall, there's a building collapse even if it's partial, entanglement, trapped in the structure, you get lost or disoriented from your crew, your low air alarm activates, and you have no clear way out. So it's been proven that some events also snowball and lead to other events, such as they get lost or disoriented, they spend too much time trying to find their way in, now their low pressure alarm is going off, now they have 2 problems to worry about. So how do I call a Mayday? So you start the transition with urgent, because this will get everybody's attention, give everybody a chance to stop talking on the radio, and allow you to speak directly with the incident commander. You'll then repeat Mayday 3 times over the radio, get your Mayday information. So these transitions include who, what, and where. Some departments differ on how they choose to transmit that info. Some departments use lunars. Some departments have their own certain way of how they present that information. So you should learn to memorize your department's version according to your SOPs. The lunar acronym is a technique for calling Mayday and what info you should give to the incident commander. You should give them location, as in which side of the structure, which division, any identifying things you have in the room, like, if you see a toilet, obviously in a bathroom, if you see a stove, you're obviously in the kitchen, stuff that can kind of help the IC figure out where you are in that structure. Your unit, your name, your assignment, and the resources needed. So, Rick, obviously, are you low on air? Do you need a saw or any lifting equipment to help get you out of if you are trapped or caught in a building collapse? Stuff like that. So what should you do after you send your Mayday? You should activate your pass device. If possible, try and find the hose line, exit structure. Remember to smooth bump to the pump. If you are with another group of guys, you should always remain together. You have a better chance of being found when there's multiple people. Find an area of refuge, away from the fire, get into a room, shut the door. You should conserve air, so there's many techniques for this, like skip breathing, filter breathing, and you should practice these, when you're around the station, so you get used to breathing like that, so that when you are in that situation, it's just second nature, and you don't really have to think about it too much. So you should also lay down, horizontal on the ground, make yourself as big as possible, stretch your arms out, stretch your legs out, and then shine your flashlight on the ceiling and make as much noise as possible. Bang your tool on the wall, smack the wall, do something just to make noise so that they can find you. So things to remember, you want to stay low, stay calm, try to remain as oriented as possible, and remember, try to keep good, clear communication, avoid yelling. It's been proven this just makes everybody on scene more hyped up, everybody starts yelling, and then you have a breakdown of communication and it just ruins everything. So work operations, the 5 most common factors cited in the NIOSH reports are things that we can fix before we even get to the fire. So breakdowns in the command system, lack of or inadequate operating procedures, breakdown in accountability personnel, breakdowns in communications, and a lack of recognition, key aspects related to fire behavior and building construction. So for the last one, obviously we don't have as many fires as we used to, so fire behavior is kind of one of those things that you can get taught in class, but until you actually see it, you're not going to recognize it that well. So rapid intervention teams are also known as RIT sometimes, rapid intervention crews. Crew firefighters who on the scene of an incident, their sole job is to be back up and to rescue down firefighters. They're not supposed to do any other tasks, they're not supposed to be back up on hose lines. Their sole job is to stand right by the IC and be ready in case something goes bad. So some departments have actual groups of guys who their sole purpose when they arrive on scene is to be RIT teams. And these guys practice firefighter down maneuvers, how to package guys, all this stuff, and that's their sole task. But some departments don't have enough manpower for that to be very feasible, therefore all of us should be very good in those procedures and know how to package a down fireman. So the RIT crew should always be with command, so that way they can discuss always potential methods of rescuing. If it's a commercial building, they should get the tactical or a blueprint of the building, and they can study it while they're sitting there waiting. So that way, again, they can be more prepared if something does go bad. They should also have multiple plans, because obviously, by the time you get to that person, fire conditions may have changed, the way you came in may be blocked now. You gotta have multiple ways. It may not be as practical to do it the right way the first time. So RIT crews carry a lot of equipment, some of the same that's carried by traditional engine and ladder companies. They also have equipment that's individual to RIT teams. So they will carry regular hand tools such as pick-headed axes, hooks, Halligans, regular hand tools. Also will carry saws, maybe some hydraulic lifting equipment depending on what type of tools they have. And the other thing is they will also carry a RIT pack. So this is a RIT pack. This is actually one we have on our truck, the RIT Pack 3 by Scott. So it has the tactile field grips. So right here on the high pressure side, it has a T. The low pressure side, it has a ball. So that way when you're inside the structure, you can kind of feel around, feel the bag, and know where you're at on the bag. It has the regulator indicator right here, pockets for your tools, flame resistant material, drag strap. Then inside is the low pressure side. On the bottom it has a skid plate with about 10 D-rings all around the side of it, so you can attach up various other equipment. And then you got the high pressure side. So the bag carries good for rescuing firefighters who are low on air. It's a 4,500 PSI bottle. There's a high pressure side and low pressure side with the connections. The low pressure side has an EBSS, emergency breathing support system. So you can tie into other Scott packs. And then the other side has a UAC, so that if you were on a scene, maybe mutual aid call, with departments use different packs and you can always plug into their packs and it'll equalize your bottles. So I was talking about they have tangible handles on each side, so you can remember which one, low ball, high T, so you can remember and distinguish. Here are some pictures of our bag, because we attach 200 feet of line to ours, and we also went on and we wrote so it can help people memorize where stuff is when they're learning it. Obviously, when they're inside the structure, reading it's probably not going to be as feasible, but it just helps you when you're learning where everything is, help you memorize. So incidents that could have been helped by proper Mayday and RIT ops. So this is Denver drill. This were on September 9th, 1992, firefighter Mike Langbart was killed and became separated from his crew while fighting an office fire. He ended up in a filing room surrounded by walls of filing cabinets, and the window in the room was above where a normal window would be. So because it became almost a confined space at that point, It took almost an hour to get them out with multiple crews swapping in and out. And this is what led to the creation of the training drill called the Denver drill, and also one of the things that led to the creation of actual RIT teams on fires. So Black Sunday, January 23rd, 2005, 4 FDNY firefighters were injured and 2 FDNY lieutenants were killed after they were in a fire. They were above the fire floor doing a search. The fire caught up to them, got up to the floor they were at, and they ended up having to jump out a window to escape. That was the only way they could escape. This is the radio transmission from that. So as you see, we were talking about earlier, they're all yelling, they're all screaming. There's no proper sequence of how they're getting their information. They're just kind of yelling random pieces of information. There's no organization. Like we said, you can see that there's too much being talked about at once. Nobody's really paying attention to what's going on. There's 20 people trying to talk at once. There's no, like I said, when you call Mayday, it's supposed to be just you and the IC talking to each other. But as you can see, you could hear 5 or 6 different voices talking on the radio at the same time. Now, obviously, that was because multiple people were calling Maydays at once, because there were 6 of them. So The Charleston 9 Charleston firefighters were killed after a fire on the back loading dock of a warehouse, a furniture warehouse, spread into the structure. There was rapid fire growth, and they ended up being killed in the building collapse. And that whole scene lasted about 25 to 30 minutes. There were no RIT teams when they first arrived on scene because it was contained. It was a trash pile in the back of the warehouse. But when the first crews went inside, they opened the back door. They created a flow path. The fire got into the furniture warehouse. And so what can we do to be better prepared? So we as firefighters have to hold ourselves accountable for not only our safety, but for our fellow firefighters' safety. So we have to regularly train on this, how to avoid these scenarios, and how to be ready if this scenario does actually arise. So we have to practice our communication skills on the radio so we can stay calm. We need to practice good accountability of our crewmates while we're actually inside a structure fire. So, thank you.